Have you heard this recent song about Laika? Let's talk about the first animal to orbit Earth and the narrative behind it. Laika, the stray who became the most important dog on the planet. On November 3rd, 1957, just a month after the launch of Sputnik 1, the Soviet Union sent a living being into space. Not a human, but a small, resilient street dog named Laika. Why? Well, sending a human first would have been reckless. Scientists needed to understand how life could survive in orbit. Stray dogs were used to harsh conditions and had the toughness and adaptability needed for a mission like this. Laika was carefully chosen, trained, and monitored with care. But the technology wasn't there yet to bring her home. Sputnik 2 was designed to test survival, not re-entry, while the original plan was to euthanize her painlessly after a few days. Unexpected overheating ended her life much sooner. Sergei Korolev, the heart behind the Soviet space program, was deeply affected by this, and Laika's sacrifice pushed him to accelerate the development of re-entry, ensuring that future space travelers like Belka and Strelka would return safely. And their successful mission in 1960 proved that living beings could go to space and come home. Without Laika, this wouldn't have been possible. And just a year later, Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space. But of course, Western media had a different narrative. They painted Laika's mission as cruelty, as though the Soviet Union sent her up just to suffer. Never mind that the United States had already sent and killed multiple monkeys and other animals. Never mind that they refused to talk about their own failures. Similarly, this kind of narrative makes me think of Chernobyl, the hysteria around that, while ignoring the United States and Western Europe's multiple nuclear disasters, like 3 Mile Island, the Hanford nuclear site, the Demon Core, to name a few. So it's funny how those stories never make the headlines or last in the popular narrative as something uniquely Western or American or capitalistic. Which is something we should consider when retelling such stories. How we tell them, why we demonize some and not others, what is the full context. Chernobyl had a convenient narrative. Laika had a convenient narrative. Communism bad. Disaster must be because communism? But how much death and destruction has capitalism caused? Well, enough to warrant exhaustive funding for anti-communist propaganda. Laika was not a victim. She was a pioneer. At the cost of her own life, she opened the door to the stars. And today, every astronaut, every space mission, and every dream of reaching beyond Earth owes something to a small, scrappy mutt who once roamed the streets of Moscow. And she is loved and remembered, honored with celebrations, statues, and numerous ways of immortalizing this sacrifice. And that's pretty good for a street dog. What do you think?